So what we're going to do in this module is take the classic game of Snake and make our own version of it. We are going to look at what makes the game Snake, how you would dissect it as a game designer, and what important parts of it are required to do a clone-like game of your own. So on screen, I'm going to throw up just a little bit of gameplay of a Snake that I found. It's a pretty old game, goes back to I don't even know when, but if you had a cell phone in the 2000s, it probably had Snake running on it and you probably played it. But that's what it is. It's a very simple game in terms of aesthetics, but there are hundreds of variations on it. If you search for a Snake game, you will find tons and tons of different types and art styles and variations on it. But if they are trying to keep the essence of what made Snake Snake, then there are certain things that it has to have. Now, here is your first challenge that I give you as a game designer. How do you break this game down, and what makes it Snake? If you had to describe it to a friend or a colleague, or if this was your game idea that you wanted to pitch to someone, what is it that you say to sell them on it? How do you describe it in a way that is clearly talking about this game, not any other one, but this game? Okay, how would you do it? Here's what I would say. It is a game that has increasing difficulty. Every version that you play, the snake gets longer and longer, and you can kill yourself by running into yourself. That's the way it works. So as you play, the game gets harder progressively, and eventually you will lose. This is not an endless game, because even if you are a perfect Snake player, because you are in an enclosed area, you will eventually run out of space and you will die. That's just how it is. The game is designed that way. So it increases in difficulty. It eventually ends, probably not too long. I would say like 10 to 15 minutes is the most you could get out of it if you're very skilled at once. And you collect things, but how important is that aspect of it? Do you have to collect things? It's probably pretty important. It shows you when it's going to get more difficult, because every time you collect something, that increases the difficulty. But probably the bigger part is the score. You have a high score that you are trying to beat, whether it be from someone somewhere else in the world or just your own score that you've seen from past attempts. It keeps track of how well you've done. It's a challenge to yourself and it's a challenge to others if you pass the game on to them. Those are the core concepts of what makes this game Snake. So how do we come up with a game like this, but is also kind of our own thing? Well, here's what I've got for you. This is what we're going to be making in our course. It's going to be a game that looks a little bit like Snake, but is not exactly the same thing. Partially because of coding limitations. Snake isn't an exactly complicated game, but we're going to keep things fairly simple, and creating boxes that follow each other is actually harder than it looks. So instead we're going to do this. It is going to be a game that increases in difficulty. It is going to be a game that you collect things, and it has a score that you are going to compete with against yourself as you go along. So it's going to be fun. We're going to learn a lot of stuff as we go along and as we make this, and we'll dissect a lot of design topics as we go along to help you become the best game designer that you can be. Up next, what we're going to look at is getting our Snake into the game.